For the show. So, Kris, once again, thanks for agreeing to do this. And got a couple questions for you. That was a wonderful song there to start us off. And my first question is, how did you get this? How did you guys decide? What was the process of getting the cast of characters for So Long a Story and back together to do a tour? How did it go down? Who called who? And who was maybe the biggest holdout?
No, we were all pretty much on the same page. I think, we really felt like, we were good friends at one time, and we just we kind of lost touch. John, our guitar player, lived over in New York running a studio. Mike runs a business, like an internet online business. Kris has his job as well, and me, I continued playing music. So, and Mike plays in Versus the World as well. We're on this tour. So, we just, our guy who used to book us, this guy Andy Summers, who books like Social Distortion and a few other bands, just hit us up, and him and our old manager were like, hey, would you consider going out and playing some shows, play a So Long Astoria? Me and the current lineup, we'd actually talked about going out and doing that already, but it was one of those things where like, hell, if this is one tour and go out and do it for fun, why not? So it was pretty simple. I was on tour at the time in Europe, and me and John just started talking, and from our several 3-hour phone conversations like old times, it was just enough for me to know like, oh, I'd love to go out and hang out with these guys for a month, and just, why not, and we live once,
Years ago when this record came out, I'm sure you don't remember it, but I remember it when you were on tour with So Long a Story. I got the chance to interview at the old Edge radio station here in Phoenix. And at that time, we had talked about some of the influences you had in your songwriting, and we talked about bands that you grew up listening to. And now looking back at this period of time in the early 2000s, and a lot of these bands that were sort of part of that punk revival are big bands and bands that a lot of people carry with them a lot of respect for today. What of your contemporaries of that time, in the late 90s, early 2000s, of that period, do you look back on and are fans of, or were a fan of the band during that era at the time?
I like a lot of rock music, but to me, like my as far as contemporary music, I'm more of like Radiohead, Wilco, and kind of indie stuff. But as far as like the punk rock stuff, like I love the Ramones and the Clash of bands like that. But my contemporaries, it was always a pleasure playing with a lot of those bands. But I respect a lot of those bands, but I don't like listen to a lot of the stuff from that era. But if I had to I always loved Bad Religion. They're a great band. Or I'm trying to think some other bands of like the rock realm of that era that I really am a fan of. I don't know. I feel really honored, to be able to play with that many bands. On some of the radio festivals, we got to play like Foo Fighters and Jane's Addiction and like Weezer and bands like that. Like Jimmy World, I think are probably that's one band that I feel not just like playing in the car in Arizona, but they were one band that I always felt were a genreless band that just played good rock songs, and I think they're probably the epitome of like the best just kind of band that like was in that era, because they didn't really conform to anything. And I think that's what we try to do too, is just try to make just good songs, not really of any kind of one niche or the other. People classify it whatever they want, obviously, but I think So Long a Story has stood the test of time because it's just a straightforward rock album, and it's like kind of timeless songs without complimenting myself, because I'm more of the other self-deprecating vein. But I think the album held up, and I'm really honored that people still want to hear those songs.
Kris Roe at the Ataris, live on KUKQ, live tonight as Pub Rock will be performing. I hear it's damn close to a sellout, so if you were thinking about buying a ticket at the door, you might want to hurry up and get down there.